Hello everyone, my name is Enrique and welcome to another review. Once again, we are reviewing episodes from X-Men 97. In this particular instance, we are reviewing the episode 6 called Lifedeath Part 2. Now, if you're confused to think that this is a part 2 of an episode, then I suggest you watch my video talking about part 1 of Lifedeath, which is also connected to another episode called Montendo, which all came out at the same time, in the same episode actually. So if you want to know my thoughts about the episode and what happens to Storm there, then I suggest you watch the video there. Now, to talk about this story, it's not only Storm's final journey to recover her powers, but it also involves another character that everybody in their universe thought that he died, only to turn out that that wasn't the case. We're going to see that today, and you're going to know my thoughts about it, as well as my thoughts on Storm's journey to recover her powers. So, without no further ado, let's talk about this episode and my thoughts about it. The episode starts with a fight in space, basically a space battle, which is honestly amazing to see, and the animation is really great. But we see that the Shi'ar Empire are fighting the forces of the Kree, in particular with Ronan the Accuser. In this case, we see that the Shi'ar Empire is doing a lot better, but is still having a lot of internal conflict. Considering also the fact that Lilandra, their queen, is also engaged to her love of her life, Professor Charles Xavier, which, yes, for those who don't know, Charles Xavier is still alive. Now, you probably confused because throughout the entire show of X-Men 97, they say that Xavier died, and because of an assassination put by Garage, the man responsible for all this. Well, turns out that wasn't the case. And if you don't know, because I've seen the final episode, which is, by the way, Graduation Day, the final episode of season 5 of X-Men, is basically this. Xavier did survive after they managed to get in contact with Lilandra. Lilandra took Xavier away and the X-Men went by with their lives. Now, in this episode, we are shown that not only does Xavier found his way to recover, but we also see that he's now enjoying a little bit of life alongside the woman that he loves. Now, Xavier had a lot of women that he loved, especially in the original episodes, especially with Moira McTaggart and other characters. But Lilandra is the one that he connected the most, after all. They are both fighters of their cause of equality, not just in planets, but also across the universe. Lilandra is obviously going to choose space, but her love for Charles Xavier is something that she wanted to do ever since the Phoenix Saga, and Charles wanted to be with her, but eventually realized he couldn't do it because he had to fight for the cause of mutant and human equality. Now, after the events of season 5, we see that Xavier is not only enjoying life, but also trying to fight in order to fight equality, not only in the Shi'ar Empire, but also in the galaxy, which is something that is going to be interrupted very soon. But regardless, this is also a story about Storm. Now, in this story, we see that Storm sees that Forge is infected with a strange virus that she doesn't know what to do, but is related to the monster that she saw in a hallucination. It's pretty much like a magical monster, and we don't know the origins of it, and I don't know in particular what it is. All I know is that it is a threat to Storm and Forge. Storm, using a book, he performs some sort of spell that is very Doctor Strange kind of things, but is eventually very futile because they don't know how to stop it. Meanwhile, we see the Xavier trying to resolve conflicts between each members of the Shi'ar Empire. We see how Lilandra is trying her best to rule her kingdom in space, but with so much opposition. We have so many characters that honestly it's hard for me to remember. I remember a few. I remember Gladiator because he was the one with the mohawk. But yeah, basically he was one of the guys that Xavier talked in order to find out how to resolve the issues between empires and how to find a way to restore peace in their own kingdom. Now, while this is happening, we also see that Lilandra is trying to discuss with the council what to do. Meanwhile, we see that Storm is finding her way into a cave in which she finds out that the monster is there. And given the history of Aurora Monroe's, aka Storm's problems with her claustrophobia, especially in closed places, is getting very hectic for her to breathe, to find solutions. But and with the monster getting close, she's getting closer and closer to be afraid and scared and all that. But eventually, she finds her strength in order to regain her powers and regain her confidence as not only one of the X-Men, but also as the Weather Witch. She's basically the queen of the weather. That's one of the reasons we enjoy Storm so much, especially with her performance. And I gotta say this, the performance in this episode is really great. Alison Seeley Smith, she really, really owns the character. Forget Halle Berry, forget all these other actresses who play Storm. She is most definitely the definitive voice of Storm. And I don't know, unless Angela Bassett plays another character in another dimension in the MCU, I don't see anybody playing Storm. Oh, I almost remember. It was Deathbird, the one of the members of the Shi'ar Empire that Lilandra is trying to convince to be in their side. Well, regardless, I'm gonna get into my thoughts. So, as we see Xavier trying to teach the Shi'ar Empire how to live in peace, how to find peace with each other, and as we see Storm regain her powers and forming a relationship with Forge, that's what all of them realize of what happened in Genosha. Xavier has a psychic, some sort of a psychic attack or a sort of psychic message where he sees Gambit forming into a skeleton. This is a Christmas Carol with Jim Carrey situation that I really, really thought it couldn't be any less dark. But it gets dark. And it got really. And as just they hit the news for Xavier, Storm also realizes what happened in the island of Genosha with the Wild Sentinel attack and everything else. So yeah, things are getting hectic and all are getting out of control. So with those situations realizing, it's up to Storm not only to find out what's going on, but also finding out what she needs to do and return to the X-Men now with new powers. But we wouldn't see her until the last 3 episodes, so we won't see her until the next episode. But in the meantime, we also see that Xavier has no choice. He has to go back to the place to Earth. He has to go back to Earth and try to find a way to stop all this. And while Lilandra is not agreeing with this idea, Xavier has no choice. He has to return and figure out what the hell's going on Earth and with his X-Men. And as the episode ends, we see that Bolivar Trask is once again in some sort of a place in the jungle where he sees Mr. Sinister. Yes, somehow, some way, with the Wild Sentinels, we see that Xavier is involved and he probably is going to have a connection to whatever is going on with the Wild Sentinel, and it is highly doubtable that it's actually Bolivar Trask behind all this. But we're gonna have to wait and see until the next episode. So yeah, we're gonna have to wait. But overall, while I feel that having two stories, especially ones that don't connect until the last scenes that we see, it's not a bad episode. I really enjoy the journey that Storm goes through in order to find her way into regaining her powers. And that's something to be admired. We also admire Forge resilience to help Storm with all this. And I have to give it thoughts and I have to give praise to Forge. He really is a loyal man. I don't know what happened to his other team, X-Force, but we're going to have to wait and see. But the one that I got most impressed with is with Professor Charles Xavier. Now, here's the thing. The original voice actor of Charles Xavier in the TV show is happily retired. He mentioned that he wasn't going to get back to the show because he feels like his voice acting is not going to be as good as he used to be. So they require the master of, and let me tell you, not the master of voices, but the man who is quickly becoming MCU's utility player. And that is Ross Squad from The Walking Dead as Charles Xavier. This guy has played so many characters in this universe. He played Ultron, he played Red Skull, and now he's playing Charles Xavier. This man has played 3 Marvel characters and probably is gonna hit for the 4th one. Well, you're gonna wait and see he plays more characters, but let me tell you, Ross Squad is really, really good, and he actually does a great interpretation of the original voice actor of Charles Xavier. It doesn't try to do like a Patrick Stewart version because Patrick Stewart is Patrick Stewart, but it's good to see that he's maintaining that same continuity, not just in voice, but in attitude with Charles Xavier. So I'm really impressed with his acting and with his voice. He's really quickly becoming Marvel's utility player whenever they need him for anything. So yeah, I really appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Musquad. But yeah, not too much to talk about, but in the end, it was still a good episode. Great visuals, great animation, especially the ones with space because we see a lot of characters. Did you know that the voice of Ronan the Accuser is Jeff Bennett, the man who voiced some of the characters in Gargoyles? This guy, really, really good. I really appreciate that. So many characters, and I think some of them were familiar, like Deathbird and Gladiator are the most that I'm remembering of, as well as some of the Shi'ar counseling, but it's hard to remember their names. There's so many characters in X-Men and in the MCU that I need to do a Wikipedia search, but yeah, definitely enjoy it. But yeah, it's still a great episode, but the best is yet to come. So this was just a great appetizer for what we are going to see in the last 4 episodes. So stay tuned as we see the next episode. So highly recommend to see this one. This is a great journey for Storm and for Charles Xavier. I'm Enrique, and I'll see you next time. Peace.